And they're off. Can You Dream very nicely out of the gate. Glassheart comes away to challenge immediately, and Glassheart takes the lead. Can You Dream is in second. Queen Bay came away in good order, tugging nicely in third, just 2 lengths off the lead. A gap of 3 back to Baby Needs Shoes, and Two Mountains is already the distant trailer. It's Glassheart into the far turn, leading by 2 lengths. Queen Bay takes up the chase into second. Can You Dream retreating, followed by Baby Needs Shoes, fourth. Now taking third. It is a distance to Two Mountains. Quarter of a mile to go. Glassheart, Queen Bay coming to her. Glassheart on the inside, and Queen Bay. They'll come to the 8th pole together, and Queen Bay takes the lead inside the final 1/8 of a mile. Glassheart is now back to second, followed by Baby Needs Shoes in third, coming toward the wire, and Queen Bay as advertised. Queen Bay in a good-looking debut, scores by almost 3 lengths. Glassheart was second, Baby Needs Shoes, and Can You Dream. In the gate. And they're off. Rose of Jericho is very quick away from the gate. So is Honorable Gal. And Faithful Truth on the outside has speed too. Auditory moves up, claims second, as Rose of Jericho is now fourth and 6 or 7 off Honorable Gal. Down the back stretch, and Honorable Gal speeding to the half-mile pole with a 3-length lead. Auditory has to get closer, second. Faithful Truth, third. Rose of Jericho at the rail. Roman Empress is 7 lengths off the lead, 5 clear of Cholima. Roses are blue. And Tessa strung out field behind Honorable Gal, who has a 1-length lead. Maldonado all over Auditory, trying to get by second. Gap of 5. Rose of Jericho is in third. As Roman Empress takes fourth, Faithful Truth drops out of it. They turn for home, and Auditory makes a wide bid to come and challenge Honorable Gal. They come to the 8th pole. It's been a good trip for Rose of Jericho, who has 4 to make up in the final 1/8 of a mile, as Auditory has gotten the best of Honorable Gal and pulls clear. Auditory by 4. Rose of Jericho into second. It's Auditory, a clear-cut winner. Rose of Jericho second. Roman Empress was an honest third. Honorable Gal fourth. And they're off. Very nice start. Baldoro and Kawasaki match strides in the opening stages. Silent Heat is right there with them in third. Smooth Salute is next, and American Empire. By the stands, it's Kawasaki, Silent Heat now right up alongside. And so Baldoro will set the perfect trip behind the top pair third. Then it's American Empire and Smooth Salute. So it's long shot Silent Heat who wants that lead over Kawasaki, who's down at the rail, conceding comfortably at the rail. Behind them comes Baldoro in the clear, now moving up and taking second. American Empire is next, and Smooth Salute has 4.5 to make up. They swing onto the backstretch behind Silent Heat, 1.5 in front. Baldoro is tugging in second. At the rail comes Kawasaki third. Then American Empire with 3.5 or 4 to come, and Smooth Salute. Coming to the half-mile pole, Silent Heat 1.5 to Baldoro. Those two have been 1-2 for quite a bit now, with Kawasaki at the rail, pink cap third. There's Smooth Salute going for an early and sudden move. Smooth Salute is already into second and coming after Silent Heat now. Silent Heat, Smooth Salute, can he sustain that bid? In the meantime, Baldoro kicks in now, and Baldoro has his head in front. It's still 3 back to Kawasaki in fourth. American Empire drops out the top of the stretch, and Baldoro's in front. Kawasaki swings to the center of the course to try and run him down. Baldoro, Kawasaki. Kawasaki, hand-ridden, sweeps on by and turns the lights out. Kawasaki and Armando Ayuso, he was patiently handled, and it paid off late. Kawasaki, full of run. Baldoro held second in front of Smooth Salute. One of them. And they're off. Charmed Dream is going out for the lead. AP's Lucky Charm matches strides in the opening furlong, and Oscar Knight is just outside of them. Go Cameo, cooling off is close up in fourth, just 3 lengths off the lead, and a gap of 6 to Jazz Spot. They pass the half-mile pole, and it's the heavy favorite Charmed Dream in hand under Kyle Frey, going to the 3/8 pole, trying to get away now, opening up a length and a half. AP's Lucky Charm. There's room at the rail for Cooling Off, who's coming through, and Oscar Knight is 3 wide, currently in second. Go Cameo is next, and a gap of 5 to Jazz Spot. They're less than a quarter of a mile from home. And Charm Dream hugs the rail and goes on, chased by Oscar Knight. And now here's Cooling Off. And Cooling Off is taking off after Charm Dream. These two square off, coming to the 16th pole. Charm Dream Cooling Off, Charm Dream. Charm Dream trying to fight off Cooling Off on the outside. Wore down Charm Dream to win it. Oscar Knight finished third. Go Cameo was fourth. And they're off. Cara Rose bounces out on top. Aguila Azul has good speed too. Now here's Got the Ring, quicker than both. And Velvet Dream moves through on the inside to take second. La Vie Lumière is next behind this group, and it's a distance to Jasmina. Into the far turn. A little bit of awkwardness there for Got the Ring as Velvet Dream has come through on the inside to challenge. So it is Velvet Dream, Got the Ring, 1-2 rounding the far turn. Cara Rose in third. La Vie Lumière is looming large just behind them. A gap of 4 back to Aguila Azul. They pass the quarter pole, 3 across the course. Velvet Dream closest to the rail. Out in the center, Cara Rose. There's room now for La Vie Lumière, who starts to pick up good momentum after Velvet Dream. Velvet Dream, La Vie Lumière. La Vie Lumière traveling well throughout, takes the lead close to home, and takes care of business, pulling clear under Kazushi Kimura. Velvet Dream second, Cara Rose was third, then Got the Ring. Enjoy responsibly. And they're off. General Jackson, El Ondeado, both out quickly. They're joined by Pratchett on the far outside. James J. Braddock comes away fourth. Then comes Spiritist, who's racing in between horses, and Cupid's Crusader goes by that pair. 3 clear of I Am Amadeo. Past the half-mile pole, and the favorite Pratchett takes over, leads it by 3/4 of a length. General Jackson is down at the rail, passed by El Ondeado, who's back into second, and Cupid's Crusader 3 wide third. General Jackson is now back in fourth, 3 lengths off the lead, 3 clear of Spiritist, outside James J. Braddock, and I Am Amadeo. Cupid's Crusader tackles Pratchett at the top of the stretch. These two go on with it. It's Pratchett and Cupid's Crusader head and head coming to the 8th pole. General Jackson resurgent along the inside, a length back third. Coming to the 16th in mid-stretch, it is Cupid's Crusader and Pratchett. Pratchett, Cupid's Crusader, neither giving an inch. General Jackson switches out for a final try. Cupid's Crusader or Pratchett. Here's the line. Cupid's Crusader prevailed in a long drive over Pratchett. General Jackson, El Ondeado. We're in the gate. And they're off. Havoc, Blue Cheese Olive. Both have early speed, but so do several others in the mix, which include Gavea and Magic Account is coming through down at the rail. Halo Uncle is one from the rail. It's a gap of 3 back to Harson. Navy Man hopped in the air at the start and is now 8 lengths off the lead. The 2 trailers are Tis a Good Thing and Zombo Bombo is last and climbing a bit too, losing ground steadily. Into the far turn, it's Magic Account, the leader, pressed by Gavea. Those 2 go to the 3/8 pole together, separated by less than a length. Another 3, Halo Uncle, is now taking up the chase after the top pair in third. Then Havoc, Blue Cheese Olive losing ground. Inside of him comes Navy Man. Then it's Harson. Zombo Bombo is starting to run now. He's very wide with the black cap as Magic Account turns for home with an increasing advantage. Magic Account with a 4-length cushion at the 8th pole. Harson is chasing and closing the gap with every stride, and he is followed by Halo Uncle in third. Here comes Harson after Magic Account. Magic Account 2-length lead. Harson's trying to nail him, and Harson with all the momentum. Harson and Giovanni Franco to get up. Magic Account ran very well in defeat. Then it was Halo Uncle third and Navy Man fourth. We're in the gate, and they're off. Very tardy beginning for entrepreneurship. The rest of them pretty even, with Shining Star the quickest, opening up a length and a half pretty easily. Margarita Girl, a clear-cut second. Down at the rails, Scary Fast Ride is a joint third next to Maxo and Gold and Wish They All Could Be. Then comes a 4-wide Sugar High, who's 5 lengths off the lead. Big Pop is just inside of her, and a long way to entrepreneurship. Into the far turn, Hector Barrios and Shining Star cruising. 3.5, 4-length advantage. Margarita Girl set down now, cuts into the margin. It's down to 2. Scary Fast Ride is down on the inside with 3 lengths to make up as a big move comes from Margarita Girl. Margarita Girl has been wide throughout, but has taken command away from Shining Star as they turn for home. Scary Fast Ride in the green takes up the chase in second. They are followed further out by Sugar High and Wish They All Could Be. Margarita Girl, Scary Fast Ride bearing down. Scary Fast Ride gradually getting up to Margarita Girl. Scary Fast Ride. That's 2 for Harris Farms today. Nicely ridden by Tyler Bays. Margarita Girl was second, Sugar High third, and Wish They All Could Be. And they're off. Flamengo's Queen gets the first call. Ionian Gem up close in the opening stages. Inner Fury Extreme outside and Ready to Dare 4 right across the course. 'Cause I'm Perfect and Sexy are next. They are followed by Tavalara, who goes a bit wide into the turn. Speaking of wide, Laylee Lollipop even wider. And a gap of 5 to a very unhurried Nakota. They string out around the first turn. Heads apart up top. It's Ready to Dare, racing on the outside of Ionian Gem. 4 lengths back, Inner Fury couldn't ask for a better setup in third. They're followed by 'Cause I'm Perfect and Flamengo's Queen. Tavalara racing on the outside of Sexy. Those 2 are next to one another, and another 4 to Lady Lollipop. They have less than a half mile to go. And Ready to Dare goes on over Ionian Gem, who's now 2 back second. Sue and Inner Fury creeping closer in third. Then Cuz I'm Perfect. Tavalara starts to pick it up now on the outside. There goes Tavalara now all the way up to take the fourth spot. At the rail, Flamengo's Queen has lost some ground, joined by Sexy, Lady Lollipop, and Nakota still last, but moving up on the outside. Sustained bid for Tavalara, who comes up alongside Inner Fury at the top of the lane, Ready to Dare fighting on willingly too. They're in the final furlong. Tavalara or Inner Fury nose to nose, and even Cuz I'm Perfect running nicely on the outside into third. It's Tavalara just in front. On the inside, Inner Fury. Tavalara gets there. Inner Fury finished second. Third to Cuz I'm Perfect. Then it was between Ready to Dare and Nakota from last. $24 even, $3 pick 3, 9,912.30. 50-cent pick 4, 4,195.80. Pick 5, 8,050.35. No one hit the super high.
There is a lot of money to be won at St. Anita today. You want to know why? First of all, there's pick six carryover, $47,000 in the pool. That'll start in race number 5 on today's 10-race card. And in the last race, race number 10, a $17,000 super high five carryover. So certainly the card is going to be under extra scrutiny. And who better to have as a seminar guest than somebody that knows all the trainers and all the owners in Southern California. He's the Thoroughbred Owners of California president and CEO. He's a good friend of mine. His name, Bill Nader. Bill, happy Saturday. Welcome to the seminar.
Thanks, Tom. Great being here.
It's great to have you here. Now, there's a lot going on in California. We'll talk about today's card a little bit later, but let's first talk about the Triple Crown. California has been well represented up to this point. Of course, Journalism and Baeza finished second, third in the Kentucky Derby. Then Journalism came back to win the Preakness Stakes. Going into the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga next weekend, Journalism, Baeza, Rodriguez, and many others hopefully will be going to represent the West Coast. But this is not a new thing. Southern California always produces good horses that perform well in the Triple Crown, Bill.
Yeah, you know, when I first started as a horse racing fan many years ago, I grew up in New England, and you know, as a New Englander, especially a young guy, we really thought NYRA in New York was the epicenter of racing. I mean, that's where it was really at. And then I remember, you know, even going back to Affirmed Alidar and horses like Sunday Silence, and it was really a wake-up call to realize, well, wait a second, you know, the world is much bigger than New England and New York. The racing world is horses from California are really something else, and it just widened your perspective, and then you just realize, fast forward to today and where we are when you looked at the Santa Anita Derby. And the fact that, you know, the points were reduced, I thought was the wrong thing to do, because, you know, a horse like Baeza shouldn't have had a sweat on a run to try to get in. I mean, it's just, and when you looked at that race, even with the Baffert horses, Citizen Bull and Barnes, those horses in Baeza and, of course, Journalism could have been favored in any of the 3-year-old lead-up races to the Kentucky Derby. It was just such a strong cast of 5 that to, you know, reduce the points because the field size wasn't up to the standard of, or the requirement of 6, I thought was wrong. And I think it's been validated, right? I mean, we've seen how well Journalism and Baeza ran in the Kentucky Derby, and as I said, Journalism winning the Preakness. So I think it's great. I think it's great that, you know, the California, especially Santa Anita, can flex its muscles on the Triple Crown stage and let the whole racing world know that California is alive and well. We have these great racetracks, but we also have great horses. We have great trainers. We have great jockeys. And fortunately, with the success of the Santa Anita meet, both the classic meet and now into the spring meet, with a renewed life, we're trending in the right direction.
California has always been on an island, Bill, but as we mentioned, success in the Triple Crown is not Johnny-come-lately. Horses that have performed well, that have been based in Southern California in the Triple Crown, recently include runners like Authentic, Justify, Nyquist, American Pharaoh, California Chrome. I'll have another. We always show up in the Triple Crown races, but we're all rooting for the Belmont Stakes next Saturday at Saratoga. Will you be back there in attendance, or are you staying home here?
No, you know, I really thought about it. I mean, I worked there for 13, 14 years, and Saratoga was always, well, it's always still a place that I really enjoy visiting and being present. But I'm going to stay here and watch it from Santa Anita. And I've got too much going on the next week, so I don't want to risk going up there and missing some of the stuff I have to do back here. But it'll be great. You know, they don't, as you know, they don't run this weekend. They just gear up for the big carnival next weekend. So there'll be a lot of good races, culminating with the Belmont Stakes. And but California will be, you know, right there, right in the thick of it.
You talk, Bill, about how busy you are, and that would be an understatement. But let's kind of take a look in the rearview mirror first about the results from the Classic meet. That was our traditional winter meet, which basically runs from opening day on December 26th until late April. And during that 49-day meet, comparing year to year, Southern California or Santa Anita conducted 61 more races. We had 658 more starters, and we had an increase in field size from 7.08 to 7.56. That was a result, of course, of Golden Gate closing down and many of those horsemen and horses shipping down to Southern California. It's a tumultuous time. Nobody likes change. But looking in the rearview mirror with a little bit behind us now, I think it was a success for California racing, no doubt.
Yeah, after Golden Gate closed down in June of last year, then we had, of course, the the Golden State Racing meet, which was October 19th to December 18th
At Pleasanton.
At Pleasanton, and we know the results of that. And so that was a bit of a speed bump where we had to kind of clear that hurdle to get to the point that we finally transitioned into a single circuit as of December 26th of last year. So the day after Christmas, when Santa Anita opened up, that was the start of the true single circuit. And now with the influx of horses from Northern California and really combining our resources and allocating our resources more efficiently, because as everybody knows, we're single source income stream in California. We don't have the alternative wagering or video lottery terminals like New York or historical horse racing
At the moment.
At the moment, and so we really had to buckle down, more efficiently use our resources, and what that's done is created the uptick. I mean, the uptick begins with, because we're handle driven. That's where we get our income from pari-mutuel wagering. If you can get the foundation right, where we can get better field size, better handle, increased purses, then we know we're doing the right thing for all of California and also for the breeding industry in the long run. We have to sustain that. And what we've done is we've seen the double-digit increase in handle in the classic meet. And going into today, handle for the spring meet, the Hollywood meet, is up about 7%. And I think it'll end up closer to 10% when it's all said and done. So that's great. And those building blocks will have to, we can't rest on our laurels. We're going to have to try to continue that momentum. But the one key thing is that purses, as of February 28th of this year, when Santa Anita announced the increase, they will be higher this year as compared to last year at every race running in California in 2025.
A perfect ecosystem. If the handle goes up, the purses go up. If the purses go up, then that means more runners want to compete. Hopefully that trend will continue. We're going to talk more to Bill Nader, the president and CEO of the Thoroughbred Owners of California, in just 1 minute. Find out who he likes on today's 10-race card. See if he tapped into his contact list, I should say, on his cell phone to get any inside scoop. But before we do any of that, let's toss the microphone over to track announcer Frank Miramati and get the early changes on today's 10-race card here at the Great Race Place.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park, the Great Race Place. The track is fast. The turf is firm. The rail on the turf at 0 feet. Here are the early changes on the program. First race, scratch 2, Neon Lights. Scratch 6, Father Delay. Early pick 5 starts with race 1. Scratch 2 and 6. In the second, number 5, Whiskey in a Teacup will carry 2 pounds over. In the third, scratch number 2, Sensational ZZ. Middle pick 4 starts with the 4th. Blinker notes in here. Fifth race starts the $2 pick 6. And the pick 6 has a carryover of $48,869. Races 5 through 10 for the pick 6, the all-turf pick 3, and late pick 5. First leg is the 6th race today. No program changes in race number 6. The 7th is the Triple Brand, scratch number 1, Vlahos, and as a result of that scratch, no show wagering. Number 4, Smooth Cruisin', is 4 pounds overweight. In the 8th, start of the $3 late pick 3, no changes. In the 9th, scratch number 6, Major Tom, late double begins. And race 10, super high 5 wagering offered. Scratch number 4, Lovely Idaho. No one was able to hit it yesterday. $17,379 in the super high 5 carryover. Enjoy your day at Santa Anita Park. We are 8 minutes away from race 1. Let's go back to Quigley's Corner. His special guest, the president and CEO of the Thoroughbred Owners of California, the TOC, Bill Nader.
Welcome back. We're talking horse with Bill Nader. He is the president and CEO of the Thoroughbred Owners of California. He represents all owners here in the state of California. He's also instrumental in approving new wagers. And Bill, there's been a lot of new wagers, starting with the classic meet, the $3 late pick 3, the $5 late daily double. They have been warmly embraced by the betting public. I know you see a lot of numbers statistically and historically, but you got to admit those two new wagers are absolute home runs.
Yeah, they're good value plays because of the lower takeout and
higher minimum.
Yeah, and higher minimum, which builds a little bit of liquidity, and also they're attractive races at that point in the card. So I think it works for everybody.
Well, let's see if you're going to work for us today, Bill, trying to help us out both with the pick 6 carryover of $48,000 as well as the super high 5 carryover in the last race of $17,000. But first things first, let's take a look at the beginning of the 50-cent early pick 5, which of course begins in race number 1. This race is for starter optional claiming types going 1 mile on the turf course. The rails today on the turf course are at 0 feet. There are 2 scratches in race 1. Scratch the 2 Neon Lights as well as the 6 Father Delay, morning line favorite, and the current betting choice at 3 to 5 is the horse that's on a win streak, both short and long on the turf course. Yakolev from the Hector Palma barn, 3 to 5, as I mentioned on the Bill on the morning line. Bill, can you beat the favorite, or are you looking elsewhere?
No, I'm going favorite. Yakolev, I think, is just loving life right now. I mean, he's just, he's won 4 of his last 5. Hector claimed him from Jeff Mullins a couple back, and he's just continued on. He's been very, very steady. He stretches out today, 6 furlongs to a mile. His last win was, I think, as Frank described, a dazzling effort. And he'll be a little bit closer to the pace, I think, with the stretch out. But I think he's in, a purple patch right now. He's going so well. So I think he's tough to beat.
You also give a little love to number 1, Hurricane Cloud from the Richie Baltus barn, who had a winner yesterday. He's a consistent type of runner. He could complete the exacta.
Yeah, and I think he'll get a rails run from that draw. And, it's a compact field. I think he'll get the perfect trip. And he'll have no excuses. He'll be in for the fight. But I just think the favorite is too good. And I also thought, for me, Kerry Gold deserved a look. Surface change back on the turf. But I think it's Yakolev and Hurricane Cloud.
Yeah, you mentioned Kerry Gold, 4 wins in his career, all of them on the turf course, 0 for 11 on the main track. So as you mentioned, back on his preferred surface. Bill, a question for you. You use the term loving life, and we're coming up on Del Mar in basically 5 weeks or so from now. Of course, a lot of eyes are focused on that meet because they always do so well, particularly with the Ship and Win program. Have you had any conversations with the management team to see what their expectations are for field sizes in general?
Yeah, we have. We talk to them all the time. And, if you look 2 years ago, field size there was 9 horses per race, which was extraordinary. Last year, it was about 8.8, if I recall correctly. And this year, the forecast or the expectation is that maybe it gets back up to 9. With field sizes going up at Santa Anita, we hope that trend continues at Los Al for their 3-week meet in June and July, and then into Del Mar. But I think 9 is a realistic number, and it's a big number. And one of the advantages and why 9 might be considered realistic is the advantage of California weather. The races stay on the grass. That's when all those years I worked at Saratoga, the one thing that would always be the X factor would be the weather, how many races would come off the turf, and how hard the rain might hit the racing. And in California, we're almost bulletproof. So that's the advantage, and that's why 9 is a realistic number.
Proven once again that West is best. Race number 2 begins the 50-cent early pick 4. We're sprinting 6 furlongs on the main track. This is a restricted $5,000 claimer. Field of 5. Number 4, Neftis from the Mike Pipey barn, taking a significant drop down in class, is the 6 to 5 morning line favorite. What say you about race 2, Bill?
Well, in this one, this is a real good puzzle. I went with number 2, Uplift. And the reason, I think he's running in the same race that he ran in last time, but I think the last time was a much better field. Bronco Nagurski won that race. We're going to see him later in the day. He won it as an odds-on favorite. I don't think there's any Bronco Nagurskis in here, and I think that, everything being relative, he's running back in the same exact race, 5,000 nominals or 2, but I just think it's a softer spot, and I think this will be his day to break through and get that second win. Underneath, Naftis dropping down in class. Mike Pipey, second race back on dirt after running a few races on turf. I give him a shot, but I think maybe uplift at a little bit of a price in a small field is the one to beat.
Bill, before we take a look at race number 3, correct me if I'm wrong, but off camera during the break, you had mentioned to me during your tenure at Hong Kong, which was significant, that Hong Kong does not have a morning line. What they do is they open up the wagering the day before around noon local time. They allow the hunters or the players to basically establish the market, and therefore the players overnight can play into that market. Do you think that's something that maybe North America tracks, particularly California, should maybe consider taking a look at?
It's hard to do here because if you're racing, consecutive days, it's hard to really display the odds because you'd have concurrent cards. But in Hong Kong, the racing is typically on a Wednesday and a Sunday, so you have that breathing space to establish the market the day before. And of course, the amount of money that's wagered in Hong Kong, you have enough in the pools to make it a little bit more worthwhile or meaningful. A typical race day in Hong Kong would do, close to 200 million US on average per day.
Is that all?
That's all. So when you open up at noon the day before, even by their standards, it's not a lot, but by our standards, it'd be about $3 million that would be bet, before you go to bed the night before, and then it builds from the morning on. So that would be the difference.
Change is good. That's my opinion, Bill, and I think you would kind of agree with that, no matter what the topic might be. Let's turn the page, take a look at race number 3. We're 1 mile on the main track for fillies and mares. $8,000 is the claiming tag. Scratch the 2, Sensational ZZ. Leaves us with a field of 5. Number 3, Olay Silver, taking the drop down in class off the layoff for trainer Phil D'Amato, is the 9-5 morning line favorite. Give us your thoughts on race 3.
Well, I'm going to try to beat Old Silver. I went to Hollywood Mistress on the outside. It's a new barn. Good form, I think last year, decent works, been freshened up, coming back. So working at Los Al, a couple of good works there. And I just think the race might set up nicely. This horse is dropping down in company. Look, it's one of those races where I think you take a shot. 8-1 in the morning line. I think that's, I'm not sure you'd get that price, but it would be good value. And also Tiergarten, limited chances on the dirt, but in his only 2 opportunities on dirt, he did run well. So I wouldn't. She'll be the solid second choice in the race.
Another question for you, Bill, talking about the industry in general before we take a look at race number 4. I don't know what you're most surprised at, having been in California now the last couple of years, and what your expectations were. But are you surprised by the passion that the owners collectively as a group have shown toward racing? I'm sure in the other jurisdictions where you've worked, they've had equal passion for the game. But even though we're out here in an island, which is the second time I've used this already in our short conversation, the passion they have for racing and the success they want to see achieved is something that I think is very mind-opening or jaw-dropping, at least to somebody like me as an outsider looking in on those conversations.
Yeah, I'd say passion, and I'd also say the same word a little bit differently, loyalty, because they really stand. When you look at journalism, for just as an example, running in the San Felipe and the Santa Anita Derby, when you look at all the horses that ran in the San Felipe and Santa Anita Derby, they're loyal to California, but that's just at the top level, and it comes right on down. I mean, people really do love being part of California racing. They are passionate, they are loyal, they've stayed the course, and that's why we fight so hard for them, because it's contagious. When you see that day in and day out, it does make a big impact on how you approach your job and approach your work. And you're in for a fight for an entire industry, not just the owners, the trainers, the jockeys, everybody that's part of it. It's a big community, and all of the backstretch workers. So it's really something to see.
A lot of lives and livelihoods depend upon the success here of Southern California racing. Race number 4 begins the 50-cent middle pick 4 on today's 10-race card, and we kick off that wager traveling 1 mile the turf course for Calbred. Allows optional claiming types, non-winners of 1 other than a good field of 8. Morning line favorite, another runner taking a drop down in class number 4, Jimmy Blue Jeans, is the 2-1 morning line favorite. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Bill, I wanted to show a replay that a number of these runners exit. Specifically, 3 of the 8 runners in today's field exit this replay we're about to watch. This replay was back on April 26th. Kanani, Rodrigo Knows, and a few others participated in this replay we're about to watch. The runner I want you to focus on is Rodrigo Knows. He's going to break from the far outside. He's going to be wearing saddlecloth number 9. He's the gray, so he's easy to follow. What I want you to pay attention to is the body language of Mike Smith as they turn for home. I believe, or I think, that Mike Smith thought he had a lot more horse underneath him than what he actually did, because he rode him so confidently. But you be the judge. Let's listen to Frank Miramati describe the action back on April 26th and watch Rodrigo Rodrigo Knows wearing saddlecloth number 9.
And they're off. Kanani very quick away from the gate. Blame the Classic is up close in second. Brazenly racing between horses. It's a Factor at the rail. Rodrigo Knows, Short Man, and Clouseau is at the back of the field. 6 lengths covers them into the first turn. And it's Kyle Frey and Kanani to set the terms, leading a length and a half. Blame the Classic is second. In the center of the course, Rodrigo Knows moves up now very willingly and comes after Kanani. They're followed by It's a Factor. Brazenly is 5 lengths off the lead. Short Man is 3 deep and another 2 back to Clouseau, who's under a nice hold at the back of the field. Down the back stretch, Kanani confronted by Rodrigo Knows. Another 4 lengths back comes Blame the Classic, It's a Factor, Brazenly, and Short Man. And still at the back, now 3 behind that group is Clouseau. They move into the far turn, and it's Kanani who's been there every step of the way. Rodrigo Knows comes back for more again in second. Now Brazenly takes third. He's coming after the top pair. At the rail, It's a Factor losing a little bit of ground. He has 4 lengths to make up with a quarter of a mile to go. Clouseau is starting to get going. He's going to have to find some way through traffic. On the outside comes Short Man. There's an 1/8 of a mile to go. Rodrigo Knows takes the lead. Clouseau is starting to come from the outside. Brazenly is just outside of him. Here's Clouseau taking off. He's been traveling beautifully throughout, and he'll blow them away through the stretch. It will be Clouseau and Hector Berrios. Brazenly completes the exact...
Bill, that was the first time Mike Smith rode Rodrigo Knows. Now he comes back for more this afternoon. Blinkers come off, which is also a key telltale sign, which I'll get to later. You and I do not compare notes before the seminar. It's obvious I like Rodrigo Knows, but ironically, so do you.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of pace in this race, so it's going to be interesting. Blinkers off, I would, that could have been Mike's suggestion. I'm not sure, but they do have the equipment change today. But when you look at the race on paper, boy, there's a lot of horses that like to go forward. So it'll be a very fascinating race to watch. Jimmy Blue Jeans, the favorite, and Brazenly, the second choice. But Brazenly, as we know, prefers dirt over turf. So, look, I think it's a good race to take a shot. And I don't know that 10-1 will be the price on Rodrigo Knows, but anything close to that, I think, would be value. And also flyover. When you look at it, which horse has a chance to really improve or move up? Look, he broke his maiden at first asking, and a 4-year-old first asking, and just last month. So it took him a while to get to the races, but he did it impressively, and he stretches out today. When he won at first asking, he led all the way. I'm not sure he'll be able to get the lead today. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I think he's a legitimate racehorse, and he has a chance to. Well, he stretches out today to take another step forward.
Going back to Bill's top selection, number 3, Rodrigo Knows. You can see in the daily racing form past performances that Alfredo Marquez, with a limited sample, has won 1 time with 3 attempts with the blinkers off. Well, the story gets better than that. I went into DRF Formulator's database. So over the last 5 years, the Alfredo Marquez barn has taken the blinkers off 13 runners. 7 of them have hit the winner's circle, 54%. 9 of them have finished in the money in excess of 60%. Blinkers off, one of the go-to moves. You saw the replay. Like Bill said, I don't know if we're going to get 10-1, but certainly no matter what we get represents value. Race number 5 is when the fireworks begins. That's because it begins the $2 pick 6 with the aforementioned $48,000 carryover. Expectations are $500,000 new money will be wagered, particularly with Naira not running this weekend. And we kick things off going 1 mile the main track for maiden claimers. $20,000 is the claiming tag. Jumper Cables has lost his juice. He's a first-time gelding, the morning line favorite, taking a drop down in class for trainer Richard Mandela. Is number 7 Powerball, 5-2 on the morning line. Another race that's kind of tough to handicap, Bill, because there's so many question marks.
Yeah, very different than the 4th race. The 4th race I mentioned had a lot of pace. This one doesn't. So Toppers at Seaside, I think, will be the lone speed in the race. And I think it just throws this race wide open. I went with the Gypsy Cowboy from the inside gate. I just think, and it's a horse that's steadily improving at this level. We dropped down to maiden 20, 2 starts back. Just getting a little bit better, and maybe today good enough. It's not a pick that I make with great conviction, but I just think, I looked at it. This is where I landed. Mongolian Gold coming back off a layoff, blinkers off. But if you look at his numbers from last year, they weren't bad, and the works are steady and they look okay. I would give him a shot as well. But the Gypsy Cowboy for me.
1 and 5 in race number 5. So says our seminary guest, Bill Nader, President and CEO of Thoroughbred Owners of California. Let's take a look at race number 6. Begins both the 50-cent late pick 5 as well as the $3 alt turf pick 3 with a reduced 15% takeout. And we kick off both wagers in race 6, going a mile and an eighth on the turf course for Calbred fillies and mares, allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 1 other than a good field of 8. Number 8, Big Mama Sue from the Steve Miotti barn is 9 to 5 on the Maury line. 8 ways you can go here, Bill. Which way you going and why?
Well, I think like the 5th race. Now, this one, I think the pace again will be slow. I don't see much in this race where horses really want to go forward and make the running. So this is going to be another one of those interesting races. I don't think you want to be too far back. But I went with Vincero Grande, the 7, 3rd race back, and proven at the distance. I don't think there's any concerns with the distance. In fact, she may want more distance, but at least we know she can get the 9 furlongs. And I think 3rd race back, if she can stay, somewhat in contact with the field, I think she can, deliver the closing punch that's needed to win the race. And Big Mama Sue, I think she will be right on the pace because there's just not much pace in here, so she'll be on it. And 9 furlongs, I think, is still a little bit of a question mark, but maybe the race might be run to suit, and she could be dangerous.
Race number 7 is our feature race on today's card. It's the Grade 3 Triple Bend Stakes, $100,000 guaranteed for sprinters sprinting 7 furlongs on the main track. Race 7 also begins the 50-cent late pick 4. Scratch the rail. Number 1, Vlados, will not compete. Leaves us with a field of 4, but all 4 certainly have credentials to win the race, including the Maury line favorite, number 2, Nisos, who's 3 to 5 on the Maury line. Bill, before we get your thoughts on the race, courtesy of our friends at firsttv.com, let's take a look at a workout for a couple of these runners, specifically starting with Nisos. Nisos last ran on Kentucky Derby Day back at Churchill Downs and ran very well. Expectations were he might be going to the Met Mile at Saratoga next weekend, but Bob Baffert called an audible and decided to run him in this race. So this race, this workout, I should say, in my opinion, is key to evaluating his status because it's a bullet workout. You can see he's doing it nice and easily. He's a lightly raced 4-year-old, just making his 5th career start. He is drawn down inside. I don't necessarily like the U-turn that Bob Baffert made, not deciding not to go to Saratoga, but you certainly have to respect a horse with this much ability.
Yeah, this horse is owned by good friends of mine, Susie and Charlie Bala of Bama Corp. And, they're from Taiwan, but they live in Massachusetts, and they're just great supporters of the industry. They're just great horse owners, and they've always had great horses with Baffert. So Nisos, we knew, as a 2-year-old and even as a young 3-year-old, how talented and brilliant he was. But then the long layoff and coming back and running just a huge race in the Grade 1 at Churchill on a track that I'm not sure he really liked. I mean, there was the sloppy track, and boy, he was game right to the end. He fought hard. That was a tough race. That was, when you looked at that race.
Off that long layoff. Might have taken something out of him.
That was tough. So I think what Baffert did here, because, when I looked at him, Nisos running in that race, I thought when you look down the chessboard, the Met Mile would be the logical place to go. But I think he did call the audible. And look, you don't second guess Baffert. And it's a long year, right? It's not,
yes.
You got a big second half coming up. And with a horse as gifted as this, he opted to come here. But there's another horse in here, Dr. Venkman, and I don't underestimate him. I think he's a serious racehorse and, really talented. So I have a high opinion of him as well. I think this is, it's a 4-horse field. When I worked in Hong Kong, when we'd have a carryover, the CEO of the track would always second guess the racing department if they had a race in the pick 6, or they call it the 6-up sequence, where it was a field and a short priced horse would win it. But he would always wait until one of the early races, a longer priced horse would win. And then he would say, why wasn't that race in the sequence? He would always hold fire until he knew. But in this one, I think it's the right thing to do because what a showcase race this is. Okay, it's only 4, I get it. But it's a Grade 3 race, and it's a legitimate contest between, I think, 2 really top-level horses in Nisos and Dr. Venkman, and it's going to be a spectacular watch.
And Bill, you mentioned how talented Dr. Venkman here. Here he is working almost a month ago. It was a bullet drill, and as we saw earlier in the workout, he was trailing his workmate and easily blows by this runner in 58 and change. As I mentioned, that was almost a month ago. Mark Ladd, I'm sure his trainer has tightened the screws since then. He did run in this race last year and finished a good second. If there was one knock on Dr. Venkman, and it's not a serious knock, he has 3 career wins. All 3 occurred over the Del Mar main track surface. none here at San Anita, but that only one attempt at San Anita was in the Triple Bend last year. As we can see, you do like 2 and 5 in race number 7, Bill. So let's take a look at race number 8. Begins the $3 late pick 3 with a reduced 15% takeout. This race, we're sprinting 6 furlongs in the turf course for maiden claiming fillies and mares in for a $50,000 tag. And as a matter of fact, if you have the program, Andy, this race is named in honor of the 2025 George Wolf Award winner Kendrick Carmouche, who's in town this weekend to ride, including today and tomorrow. In race 8, we've got a field of 8. Morning line favorite number 2, Cloudy Woman, owned by the Ronus Racing stable. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Bill, I wanted to give a shout out to Ronus Racing, because most of the people that are serious horse players think it's Costa and Stephanie, but Brother Pete is along for the ride as well. And you guys are honoring them in August down at Del Mar with the TOC Chairman's Award. They are fantastic people inside and out. They love our game. They're great human beings. I can't thank them personally enough, and I'm sure a lot of people watching echo this sentiment, for their support of California racing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, they do it, and they do it, 12 months a year. Of course, everybody remembers Flightline, which was their dream horse.
1 in a million.
Yeah, 1 in a million. And he wasn't just horse of the year. He was the highest rated horse in the world. So he got the IHA award as the world's best racehorse in 2022. But that's at the very top level on a global score. But here in California, when you drill down from a global scene into a domestic scene and look at the state of California and their contribution day in and day out, it's incredible. I mean, Costa's on the board at Del Mar. He's a big player there. Stephanie's on the TOC board. Pete is, he's right in there with them, and they do it day in and day out. And Stephanie works tirelessly for the TOC on the Owners Relation Committee and the Women's Summit, which has even gotten bigger and bigger and been renamed and now gone across the country and even into Canada. So it's just they've been incredible, and they really are deserving recipients.
Having said all that, with all those accolades, and each word is certainly justified, do you like Cloudy Woman in race number 8, or are you going to bet against them?
I actually went against. I took Frog. I think she's going to be the controlling speed in the race. And, this is a race that this is going to be a key race in the pick 6 sequence, because there's a number of choices in here where you could go. But I thought Frog would be the controlling speed. The last race, I thought, kind of pointed her out to me. And I think it's going to be a McCarthy race. I think Michael McCarthy with Frog, and I also took Michael McCarthy with Uptown Sweetheart, who comes back, only had the 1 start last year as a 2-year-old, but in that race, it was up against Thought Process, who I really had a high opinion of. So running third there. Now, it was at a mile, and this race is at 6 furlongs, so she's going to have to, you would think she'd come from way out of it. But her works are steady, and, her race last year as a 2-year-old was pretty good, so I wouldn't overlook Uptown Sweetheart.
Race number 9 begins the $5 late daily double, also with a reduced 15% takeout. In race 9, we're sprinting 6 furlongs for restricted starter allowance types. Scratch the 6, Major Tom leaves us with a field of 7. Number 3, Grayson Sun, is the 2-1 morning line favorite. Waters are getting deeper if we want to hit the pick 6, Bill. Who's going to win race 9?
Well, I thought, look, Grayson Sun in its last race was second to Haywood and chased them all around the track. And Haywood was a very impressive winner that day. And if Grayson Sun runs back to that race, I think it's good enough. I think he should be the controlling speed in this field, and it might be his turn to play the role of Haywood and take them all the way. Howbeit, a lot of back class, as we all know, we respect that. He's not the same horse today that he was back then, but in this field at this level, you certainly have to take a look at him as well.
We close out a fantastic 10-race card in race number 10, which, as previously mentioned, offers a $1 super high five wagering with a $17,000 carryover. And we close out today's card coming down the Hillside Turf Course, 6.5 furlongs down the Hillside Turf Course for fillies and mares, allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 1 other than. Scratch the original morning line favorite number 4, Lovely Idaho, will not compete. Post-time favoritism and morning line favoritism likely to fall in number 5, Invincible Molly, still leaves us with a field of 9. Give us a winner to close it out, Bill.
Well, I think we'd agree Lovely Idaho was a big scratch, right? So
for sure.
That opens it up a little bit. I went with Beyond Lucky, the 8. I thought it was a solid win last time. There was a lot of pace pressure, and she was able to fight on and get the win. I think the cutback in distance from a mile to this trip, I think, is always, it's a good thing. I always look at it as something that would be a positive, not a negative. So I think her last race off the bench when she, first race back, points her out, and I think she can repeat and come back and do it again. I'll have another kiss is 20-1 in the morning line. I think it's an interesting runner. Its last race at Del Mar at the end of last year was a good one. There's a lot of good races on her resume in her 4-year-old season, and coming back, the works are okay. And I think at a big price, the last race of the pick six sequence, 6.5 down the hill is a good way to end it.
It's supposed to be difficult when you play the pick six, and today's sequence certainly proves that. Bill, before I let you go, one more wager to consider. That's the $1 Coast to Coast Pick 5. As we look at the races for today's Coast to Coast Pick 5, did you see the results from yesterday? One winning ticket in the Coast to Coast Pick 5 paid $60,000. You know how much it cost? $42. The person who purchased the ticket resides, or actually purchased the ticket, I should say, in Toronto, Canada. So congratulations to that lucky and skilled ticket holder. Invested $42, got back $60,000. Bill, you're a busy man. You didn't need to join me on the seminar, but I'm so happy that you did. I have no doubt that the uptick in California racing is primarily due to the stewardship and the leadership that you're showing California racing. You guys are doing a great job. Let's keep the momentum going forward because, as we mentioned, a lot of people's lives and livelihoods depend upon our success.
Much appreciated, Tom, and we can't do it alone. We have to do it in partnership with the tracks and the breeders and everybody that's involved, and we're happy to be part of that.
It's an exciting time ahead, that's for sure. Bill, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to all of you for joining us as well. Hope you enjoyed it. Best of luck this afternoon. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you again tomorrow.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please rise for our national anthem.